Promotional consideration paid for by the Comic Corps. Welcome to Dru Manchu's Comic Book Reviews. I'm your host, Dru Manchu, and today we're going to be taking a look at Absolute Carnage #1. Let's do it. Absolute Carnage #1 is the first issue in this mini-series event that is the culmination of Donny Cates Venom runs so far. Ryan Stegman does all the art on those issues, and he's doing all the art in this one as well. It's a giant issue full of 3 separate chapters full of content. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. The first chapter is called The Bleeding King, and basically it's a whole lot of exposition being told by Eddie to his son as they're on their way to get help. We're getting caught up on the whole premise of Absolute Carnage from the beginning. Null, the symbiote god, and his origins are told here, and all of his power. We learn that the symbiote planet is basically a cage around Null, keeping him at bay. Unfortunately, Venom has been attached to many hosts over the years, and all of those hosts have a piece of Venom attached to their DNA. It's intrinsically linked to their DNA to allow the hive mind of the Clintar symbiotes to connect with each other. So Carnage is hunting down anybody with a codex, alive or dead, to take that codex and make them a part of himself, allowing him to reach Null and wake the symbiote god. The problem here is that Eddie and his symbiote have been separated, so Venom has been missing. He's been off on his own adventures. Eddie did his own thing during the War of the Realms, but they are not together anymore, which leaves him vulnerable. So Eddie and his son Dylan are running through the city trying to find some help when they decide to take a train. Carnage pushes them onto the tracks, and they're saved at the last minute by Venom, who reassociates himself with Eddie and begins to fight. Venom realizes that in Carnage's current form, there's no way he can beat him, but Eddie sacrifices himself by touching the 3rd rail on the subway system and shocking them both unconscious. Venom helps Eddie and Dylan get out of there and get to exactly where they were looking to be in the first place, which is where they were going for help, to Peter Parker, Spider-Man. This leads us into Chapter 2, Godson. The bulk of this chapter is basically just Eddie and Spider-Man and Dylan talking things out in a diner. There's a robbery in the diner which results in Spider-Man having to whip a couple webs around and kick out some bad guy ass. All along he's getting the information from Eddie about what they need to do. They need to build a machine to separate these codices from the hosts. Basically they need to draw the symbiote off of the DNA. Spider-Man laments that he doesn't know anybody other than Reed Richards who could perform this feat. Fortunately for Eddie, he knows somebody very much like Reed Richards, the Maker. Eddie takes Spider-Man back to Rex Strickland's safe house, where they find the Maker, who already has a machine built for such purposes, for his own purposes. What are these purposes? We might not ever find out, but right now they're on the same page. You might ask yourself why Spider-Man's so interested in helping. Well, that's because his godson, Normie Osborn, was injected with the Carnage symbiote by his grandfather during the Going Down Swinging story arc in Amazing Spider-Man. Kudos to Donny Cates for pulling up that continuity. But Spider-Man doesn't exactly trust the Maker and his machine, and before he'll put Normie in there and run the process on him, he wants to see it run on another codex. So the obvious way that they're going to get that done is by breaking Norman Osborn out of Ravencroft. Chapter 3, The Long Red Dark, is basically all about that. Spider-Man and Venom make their way inside Ravencroft. They run into John Jameson, who is a guard there, and also a codex. So as Jameson is escorting them to Norman's cell, he turns himself inside out because Carnage is there, and Carnage is inside his head. Carnage makes his way down the hallways, infecting every criminally insane patient that he can come by with his symbiote. We get Spider-Man and Venom in close quarters combat with 1 million Carnage symbiotes. It's absolutely astounding. When they finally get to Norman's cell, his homicidal nature takes over and he is no help at all. Carnage busts in and grabs Norman. Spider-Man pleads with him not to kill Norman Osborn. He knows he needs him. Carnage didn't come here to kill Normie. He came here to make friends. And he adds Norman to his army of soldiers. I keep saying it over and over again, Donny Cates is one of us. He cares about continuity, he cares about tying in the past, and he cares about building towards the future with a shared universe. And I've always loved Ryan Stegman's art, but he's really shined on Donny Cates' Venom, really came into his own and created his own really eerie, horror-like style. This is the book that they've both been working to for over a year. Null of the Symbiote God, Cult of Carnage, the Venom Run, the Web of Venom, all of this stuff, Rex Strickland, every single bit of it. All of these backups in all of the other Marvel books with Carnage hunting down the codices. These are incredible story arcs that are all being put together into this one book here. It's supersized, it's full of content, and Jesus Christ, it's $8, but it's worth every penny. This is fantastic stuff here. Great action, fantastic pathos with Venom. We're getting some really great character stuff. We're tying in some really funny stuff with the Spider-Man interactions, the Maker being an absolute asshole. This is a great book. This is fantastic. It's a 5 out of 5, no matter how you slice it. This is amazing stuff, guys. 5 out of 5. Thanks for watching the video, folks. Make sure you click that like button, subscribe if you like the content, and click that notification bell because the Comic Core has fresh content coming at you live every weeknight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Starting on Mondays, we got Alec from White Whale Comics with Story Comic Core. He gathers a group together, and they're going to fantasy book your story arc or go over some classic trades. No matter what they do, it's a must-see TV. On Tuesday nights, stop by and check out the Golden Guys. JD Comics and his friends will put together a great show for you, sharing their knowledge of Golden Age collections and the books that they've picked up. Some really, really great nuggets of wisdom from these guys. On Wednesday, stop by for the B Show. The Blue brand gives you the best on-the-rails new comic book day conversation that you could possibly ask for with Comic Core Unlimited. That's every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. On Thursdays, we take it outside the issues with entertainment from the world of movies and TV, all comic book related, but not the issues themselves. Be sure to stop by and chat it up about Swamp Thing or The Boys or whatever we're watching at that point in time, gang. Get on board and be a part of the crew. And Friday nights, we take it off the rails, the Comic Core A Show, the flagship of the network. We're going to go ahead and throw back a couple of cold ones and discuss all the nerd activity from the past week. We'll have some special guests. We'll share our hauls and our picks of the week. And we'll just mainly get silly and find out what Mark is eating. Stop by and check out Off the Rails on Friday nights. The Comic Core has something in store for everybody. Make sure you click that like button, that subscribe button, and that little notification bell to make sure you never miss when we're going live.